I'm aware. I've also reached a decision. It's time for me to return home. My nose suddenly stung with emotion. Life had dealt me a blow. But for Uncle Chu's sake, I'd grudgingly endure this one too. I sniffled, then looked up. All right, I'll give it a try, I conceded. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't. The screenwriter immediately beamed with delight. Excellent. Audition tomorrow. The audition day arrived swiftly. Upon reaching the film set, I discovered a full row of people seated before me. The director, producer, screenwriter, and several unfamiliar individuals. The director, who I now recognized, began introductions. This is our culinary consultant, an expert from the New Orleans Culinary Association. And this is a prominent food show host. And this is... My hands began to perspire. The director noticed my nervousness and smiled. Just relax. Act as you normally would, he advised. This table of food was prepared by another chef, please. Try it and offer your honest feedback. I surveyed the dishes, took a deep breath, then sat down. Picking up my chopsticks, I sampled a piece of sweet and sour fried fish and immediately frowned. The entire room fell silent, holding its breath. Setting down my chopsticks, I stated gravely. The meat was cut too thick, and without egg white in the marinade. It's dry. The vinegar was incorporated prematurely, allowing much of its acidity to dissipate, so the sourness isn't pronounced enough. The fermented bean paste wasn't sautéed for an adequate duration, failing to release its full fragrance. The culinary consultant's eyes instantly brightened. Next, I sampled a stir-fried vegetable dish. The heat for this dish is precise, I observed, but the salt was unevenly distributed. One bite is bland, another too salty. The chef didn't ensure a consistent toss at the end. The culinary consultant began jotting down notes. I then tasted the braised pork, paused for a moment, and took another bite, and then another. The director couldn't resist asking, "What's amiss?" I fixed my gaze on the plate of braised pork and gravely stated. While 3-layered pork belly was correctly used, the fatty portions weren't rendered properly, making it slightly greasy. The caramelization was overcooked, resulting in a bitter undertone. And during the sauce reduction, the heat was too intense, leaving the meat somewhat dry. At this point, the culinary consultant abruptly rose, his voice filled with excitement. "Young lady, from which culinary school did you graduate?" he demanded. I replied, "I've never attended one. I've simply been eating for over 2 decades. The culinary consultant turned to the director and declared, "Cast her. With a palate like hers, she won't even need to act like a food critic." The director made an immediate decision. "It's final," he announced. "We'll sign the contract tomorrow." I was still contemplating how to decline, but Uncle Chu patted my shoulder. "My dear," he said, "help your Uncle Chu with this favor." I shrugged. "In that case, I have one condition." The director looked at me with tension. "Every day at lunchtime, I must be given a bento box prepared by Chef Chu," I stated, "and there will be no restrictions on my diet." The director looked somewhat bewildered. "Is that all?" I nodded very seriously. "That's it," I confirmed. The director let out a sigh of relief, a smile spreading across his face. Uncle Chu also smiled. It was like the saying, "Read the page the wind turns to. Tear out the page you don't understand." If this was unavoidable, then I would simply eat and perform. After signing the contract, I messaged Lily on WeChat. "Sis, I'm an actress now." Amelia Davis's immediate reply was a question mark. I muttered to myself, then texted again. "I was coerced." Amelia Davis. "Who coerced you?" "Me. Uncle Chu." Amelia Davis responded with a flurry of question marks. I sighed. "It's a long, complicated story." "Oh, and please tell your dad for me. I likely won't be able to come home this weekend because I'll be filming." Lin Yao Yao. "Dad's going to be furious." "Me. Just say a few good words for me." Lin Yao Yao. "What am I supposed to say? That you ate your way into becoming the female lead on the film set?" I pondered for a moment. "That works too," I decided. Lin Yao Yao. "Sis, you're utterly absurd. These past few days, Ethan Miller had a spring in his step, having just secured the role of the third male lead. It involved dialogue and scenes opposite the new female lead, rumored to be an online sensation. A backdoor entry? He silently fumed. Who did she use her connections with? Revolting. But it hardly mattered, as long as he had scenes with the female lead. Perhaps he could ride her coattails for some buzz. He had it all mapped out. On the first day of shooting, he would perform flawlessly, ideally generating some on-screen chemistry with the female lead, seizing the chance to completely reverse his fortunes. Finally, the first day of filming arrived. The director personally stepped forward to greet the new female lead. "Miss Lin, you've arrived," he announced. Ethan Miller adjusted his expression, flashing his most charming smile, and looked up, only to freeze. It was me. I was dressed in my character's costume, with subtle makeup, a stark contrast to my usual image of squatting in a corner to eat. Yet, the very first words out of my mouth retained that familiar tone. "Director, is today's lunch still from Chef Chu's kitchen?" The logistics coordinator quickly replied. Yes, specially prepared by Chef Chu, and with an extra portion of braised pork." I nodded contentedly, then settled down in a corner and began my meal. Ethan Miller stood frozen, his mind completely blank. Beside him, someone whispered, "Is that her, the internet food influencer? I heard she's incredibly knowledgeable about food. Even a national chef took her on as an apprentice. And wasn't her ex-boyfriend that actor guy? Haha, yeah, the one who was blind as a bat. He dumped her. And then she blew up." Ethan Miller's face turned ashen by the time his scene with me came around. He was so nervous he completely blanked on his lines. I looked at him, my voice composed. "You don't need to be tense. I don't eat people. You know." Ethan Miller gritted his teeth. You, how can you be? Are you asking how I ended up as the female lead?" I interrupted. "It's a long story, but primarily, it was to help Chef Chu." Ethan Miller just stared. "Help Chef Chu?" I looked at him helplessly. "You wouldn't get it," I said. "Oh, by the way, you flubbed your line earlier. It's supposed to be, 'This dish reminds me of my hometown.' Not, 'reminds me of my mother.'" From behind the monitor, the director immediately yelled, "Miss Lin is correct. Ethan Miller, take it again." Ethan Miller's face wasn't just green, it was positively ghastly. One scene concluded, only for the next to begin. After 8 repetitions, the director finally gave a satisfied nod. Ethan Miller was utterly exhausted, nearly collapsing, while I was brimming with energy. That's because I had just devoured 2 bento boxes. Some people tire from work, others from acting, but I remained fresh, having just eaten my fill. Hee. After work, Ethan Miller squatted in a corner, smoking, his mind churning with growing resentment. He seethed with hatred for me. He replayed the old video on his phone, the very first one he had ever filmed. I was squatting against the wall, digging into my food, my mouth slick with oil. At the time, he'd intended to use that footage to ruin my reputation. Yet it unexpectedly catapulted me to internet fame. Now, he stared intently at the video, his indignation growing. "What right does she have?" he seethed. "It's just eating food, for crying out loud." Now, the entire film crew treated her with utmost courtesy. Even the director spoke to her gently. The more he dwelled on it, the more enraged he became. Finally, he messaged the marketing contact he'd used previously. "I have more intel," he typed. The other party instantly responded. "What kind of news?" Ethan Miller rapidly typed. "That incredibly popular food influencer, the one who squats to eat, she's my ex-girlfriend. Publish an article claiming that since becoming famous, she's grown arrogant, acting like a diva on set and looking down on the supporting cast." The other side hesitated. "Do you have any proof?" Ethan Miller retorted. "Just publish it first and let public opinion do its work. She's just an internet sensation. What can she possibly do?" The other party considered this for a moment, accepted the payment, and published the article. The headline instantly appeared: "Online food influencer accused of diva behavior on set." The accompanying image was a blurry, candid photo of me with my head down, eating. He had framed it as a display of indifference towards others. The next morning, Ethan Miller eagerly opened his phone, anticipating the drama. However, upon opening the comments section, he was instantly dumbfounded. The top comment read, "Huh? I thought she seemed quite humble. She just eats during all her live streams." Hot comment number 2. "What can one photo of someone bowing their head possibly convey? I don't like to talk while eating either." Hot comment number 3. "Is it that ex-boyfriend again? You know, the one who was totally clueless." Hot comment number 4. "Haha, he's trying to bite again. This is absolutely hysterical." Hot comment number 5. "Friendly advice to the ex. Stop trying." The more you attempt to slander her, the more popular she becomes. Hot comment number 6. Hold on, is that the food influencer? I just watched her live stream. She was literally teaching people how to eat a bento box properly. Is that what they're calling acting like a diva now? The entire comment section erupted in laughter. Ethan Miller stared at the screen, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Once again, entirely unbeknownst to me, he had inadvertently helped me gain a fresh wave of followers. The following day, upon my arrival at the film set, I immediately spotted a throng of reporters gathered by the entrance. What's happening? I wondered, bewildered. Lin Yaoyao's WeChat instantly pinged. Sis, you're trending again. I sent a question mark in reply. Lin Yaoyao sent me a screenshot. It was the very article where Ethan Miller had accused me of diva behavior. I stared at the picture for a while before texting back. The angle on this photo is terrible. Lin Yaoyao, is this really the main point? I'm completely serious. What else could it be? Lin Yaoyao was so frustrated she couldn't speak. The reporters spotted me and immediately swarmed closer. Ms. Lin, someone said you've been acting like a diva on set. Is that true? I paused briefly, then glanced down at the lunchbox in my hands before looking up to answer quite seriously. I usually just squat in a corner to eat my meals. How could that be diva behavior? The reporters froze for a few seconds. Then all burst into laughter. Someone followed up. So, how do you feel about your ex-boyfriend disclosing this information? I considered it for a moment, then replied, he's putting in a lot of effort. The reporters looked surprised. Effort? I nodded. He's making an effort to help me gain more fans. Thanks. The entire scene erupted in laughter. That very day, a new entry appeared on Hot Search. Ex-boyfriend. Give it a rest. That evening, a stretched limousine pulled up to the studio gates. Ethan Miller instantly recognized the car. It belonged to Amelia Davis. His eyes lit up at once. He quickly straightened his collar and moved toward it. For the past 2 months, he'd been hovering around the film crew daily, buying coffee for Lily, offering tissues, and telling jokes, only just managing to become a familiar face. He planned to use this chance to say a few more words. But Amelia Davis walked right past him without a single glance. Heading straight for me, she hooked her arm through mine. Third sister called to ask if you're done filming yet? Uncle Chu has already started his new position at the corporation. A buzzing sound echoed in Ethan Miller's head. Sister. He stood rooted to the spot as if paralyzed. Amelia Davis turned, saw his expression, and her smile widened even further. What's wrong? Never seen close sisters before? Ethan Miller's lips trembled. He couldn't form a single word. He looked at Amelia Davis, then back at me. Amelia Davis was the second young lady of the Lin group. He knew this very well. He even dreamt of attaching himself to this prominent family. So what about me? Lily called me sister, which meant I was the eldest young lady, didn't it? Ethan Miller's mind felt like gears grinding to a halt, unable to process. Over the last 2 months, every scene replayed in his head like a slideshow. When he was tirelessly flattering Amelia Davis, I was squatting nearby, quietly eating my meal. When he publicly humiliated me, Amelia Davis was watching from her luxury van. When he filmed a video aiming to tarnish my reputation, Amelia Davis even liked it and commented that General N is adorable. He always believed Amelia Davis was the only privileged daughter around him. He always thought I was just a poor girl squatting and eating cheap food. Yet, it turned out I was the eldest heiress. Ethan Miller's legs felt like jelly. Amelia Davis observed his reaction, her amusement growing. Otherwise, why do you think I showed up at the film set every day? I had to watch over her, afraid she'd expose her identity. And she's quite something, squatting on set for 2 months just for a lunchbox. Ethan Miller tried to speak, but his tongue felt tied. So your family. He finally managed to get a few words out. Amelia Davis chuckled. Have you heard of the Lin Group? The one specializing in high-end culinary arts, with over 200 restaurant chains nationwide? My father is Richard Davis. My older sister is Chloe Davis, and I am Amelia Davis. Ethan Miller had to lean against the wall to avoid falling. Amelia Davis went on. Do you know why my sister was on the film set? Because she tasted Uncle Chu's cooking and found it resembled Dad's cooking style when he was younger. She suspected Uncle Chu was Dad's old comrade in arms and came to observe. And it turned out to be true. Uncle Chu and my father lost touch 20 years ago. My sister was the one who helped them reunite. I continued eating, my head bowed, calmly stating, "Don't make it sound so grand, I just wanted to eat." Lily was speechless with frustration. "Sister, is that all you aspire to in life?" Ethan Miller stood by, feeling completely invisible. He recalled 3 months prior, when I was squatting in a corner eating. He had walked over, knocked my lunchbox to the ground, and declared, "Can you stop embarrassing me?" He remembered pointing at Amelia Davis's luxury van, saying, "See, that's the kind of person worthy of me. The second young lady of the Lin group. Lin Yao Yao. Her handbag alone could feed you lunchboxes for a whole year." He remembered that when we broke up, I hadn't uttered a word, simply stooping to pick up the braised pork from the ground. Back then, he thought I was foolish. Now, he realized the true eldest heiress stood right before him, and he had criticized her for embarrassing him. The person he had desperately pursued turned out to be her younger sister. Before he could fully recover, another car pulled up by the roadside. A middle-aged man stepped out and walked directly towards me. "My little darling, your mother sent me to bring you home. She said if you don't return, she'll freeze your cards." I clutched my lunchbox and recoiled. "Dad, just 3 more days for me. Uncle Chu said he's experimenting with a new dish tomorrow." Ethan Miller's eyes widened in shock. Richard Davis, the chairman of the Lin Group, a name he had searched online countless times, was now squatting in the corner, negotiating with his daughter about a few more days to eat. Richard Davis sighed helplessly. "You're the eldest heiress, yet you squat in a corner eating every day. What kind of image is that?" I declared confidently, "It tastes better when you squat." The crowd around us had formed a circle. Some recognized Richard Davis, their phones held high, filming. The chairman of the Lin Group. The one squatting. That's his daughter. His biological daughter? So the person beside her is the second young lady. Hold on. So that guy who was just pursuing the second young lady. All eyes turned simultaneously to Ethan Miller. Ethan Miller wished he could just disappear. Someone whispered, "Isn't that the guy? He dumped his girlfriend to climb the social ladder and pursue the heiress. And it turns out the person he pursued calls the girl he dumped, sister." Ha 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 ha. What kind of script is this? He looked down on the real heiress for eating next to him, then ran off to flatter her younger sister. He chased her for 2 months. And she's his ex-girlfriend's biological sister. I'm dying of laughter. He needs his eyes checked. Ethan Miller's face turned chalk white. Richard Davis finally noticed him, shot a glance, and asked me, "Who is this person?" I replied casually, "My ex-boyfriend." Richard Davis hummed, "Oh, the one who said you embarrassed him?" I nodded. Richard Davis stood up and walked over to Ethan Miller. Ethan Miller's legs buckled. "Mr. Lin, Mr. Lin." Richard Davis scrutinized him from head to toe, his gaze like one reserved for a cheap, worn-out item. Then he turned to me and asked, "That's all?" I nodded again. "Just that." Richard Davis smiled, but there was no anger, no disdain, not even any real emotion in his expression. It was like a polite twitch of his lips at a not very funny joke. "His judgment is truly lacking," he stated. Lin Yao Yao chimed in from beside him. "He pursued you for 2 months, flattering you, buying coffee and breakfast every day. My sister was sitting right there eating, and he still didn't recognize her." Richard Davis shook his head. "With such poor judgment, it's no wonder he only gets roles as an extra." Ethan Miller stood motionless, his face flushing then paling. He wanted to explain, to say something, but his mouth felt sealed shut. He looked at me. I was still eating, never once lifting my head to acknowledge him. Around him, some people were laughing, some were taking photos, and some were whispering. For the first time, Ethan Miller understood what public humiliation felt like. He suddenly remembered 3 months ago, when he had pointed at Amelia Davis's luxury van and told me that was the person worthy of him. Now, that car was still parked there. Amelia Davis sat beside me. I squatted in the corner eating my humble meal, while he stood amidst the crowd like a clown. Richard Davis didn't bother to pay any more attention to Ethan Miller. He looked at me, squatting in the corner, sighed, and then he, too, squatted down. The surrounding crowd's eyes widened. A billionaire CEO squatting in a corner, eating with his daughter. I glanced at him. "Dad, what are you doing?" Richard Davis replied, "Just seeing what you're eating." I offered him a pair of chopsticks. "Try it, Uncle Chu made it." Richard Davis took the chopsticks, picked up a piece of braised pork, put it in his mouth, chewed, and then paused. I looked at him, carefully asking, "Is this the flavor?" Richard Davis said nothing, took another bite, his eyes slightly reddened, as if a long-lost memory had finally resurfaced. He had waited 20 years for this plate of braised pork. Uncle Chu emerged from the kitchen. The two middle-aged men looked at each other, silent, then embraced tightly. Richard Davis's voice choked. "Old Chu, what were you hiding from?" Uncle Chu patted his back. "I was afraid of inconveniencing you." "Inconvenience? What?" Richard Davis pushed him away, glaring. "You were my squad leader. Back in the army. If you hadn't found ways to cook for me every day, my stomach condition would have forced me to retire long ago. Without you, I wouldn't be who I am today." Uncle Chu chuckled. "Aren't you doing quite well now?" "Doing well, what?" Richard Davis pointed at him. "Do you know how long I've been looking for you? 20 years. I sent so many people to find you. And you were hiding in Silverwood, cooking for a film crew." "Uncle Chu, I love cooking." "Then come cook for me. My corporation's kitchen is yours to use as you please." Uncle Chu shook his head. "I'm just a chef, coming to your massive corporation. I'd feel completely out of place." "Uncle Chu, my kitchen has 10 stoves. You can use any one you like. Plus, I can help you taste test dishes every day." Uncle Chu looked at me and smiled. "For your sake, I'll come." I instantly cheered. Richard Davis looked at his daughter, then at his old comrade, and finally broke into a smile. That evening, I tied on an apron and entered the kitchen. 30 minutes later, I proudly presented a bowl of braised pork. Richard Davis looked at the dish, then at his beloved daughter. "You made this?" I lifted my chin confidently. "Uncle Chu taught me." Richard Davis took a piece, put it in his mouth, chewed, and tears welled up. "This is the flavor. 20 years ago, Old Chu's braised pork tasted exactly like this." Uncle Chu stood beside him, smiling. "She has natural talent. I just had to give her a few pointers. And she could cook it." I scratched my head shyly. Lin Yaoyao leaned in. "Sister, can I have a taste?" I quickly hugged the bowl to myself. "Go learn to make your own." "Lin Yaoyao, am I still your biological sister?" "Yes, but biological sisters also need to eat." Richard Davis watched the two sisters bickering, his gaze fond. Uncle Chu stood by and commented, "Old Lin, you've raised 2 fine daughters." Richard Davis nodded, "Except that one is a bit expensive to feed." I didn't even bother to look up. Eating heartily is a blessing. During the day, I tell myself, eat one more bite and you're a dog. But by evening, even a dog needs dinner. But since my dad says eating heartily is a blessing, I can eat in peace. For the past few days, Ethan Miller's existence had been utterly miserable. The hot topic remained trending for 2 days, making him the internet's laughingstock. The comment section was filled with remarks like, "Blind as a bat, the most pathetic ex-boyfriend in history. He dumped the real heiress and ended up flattering her sister. He didn't dare go out. Didn't dare check his phone. Didn't dare answer calls. His management company called to inform him his role had been cut. He asked why. His agent replied, the director said he fears it will affect viewership. Audiences find you irritating." Ethan Miller's composure completely shattered. He seethed with hatred for me, for Lin Yaoyao, for Richard Davis, for everyone. He pulled out some photos from his phone. Again, they were pictures of me squatting in the corner eating. There were also photos of Amelia Davis standing next to me, and some he had secretly taken of me taste testing dishes in Uncle Chu's kitchen. He messaged that marketing account. "I have more information." "What information?" "Ethan Miller, the relationship between the Lin family heiress and Uncle Chu isn't normal." "What do you mean?" "Ethan Miller, think about it. Why would a national-level chef take an ordinary person as an apprentice? And cook for her every day? There must be something going on." The other side hesitated. "Do you have any evidence for this?" Ethan Miller, "No, but it could be kept quiet by the other side." Ethan Miller grew anxious. "I can pay more," the other side replied. "Forget it." After the last trending topic, the Lin Group's legal department already contacted us. They said if we spread any more nonsense, they'd sue. We don't dare anymore. Ethan Miller was stunned. He contacted other marketing accounts. All of them refused to take the job. He was utterly desperate. As soon as I saw the news about Ethan Miller, I burst out laughing. Amelia Davis, beside me, asked, "What's so funny, sister?" I laughed until I was breathless. "He seems quite miserable." Lin Yaoyao, "Are you sympathizing with him?" "How could I possibly sympathize with him?" I shook my head. "No, It's just amusing. Lily, what's amusing? I thought for a moment, then said. He poured so much effort into wanting to be famous, wanting to climb the social ladder. But the harder he tried, the worse things got for him. And I didn't do anything, just ate, and yet I became famous. Lin Yaoyao was speechless. Are you humble bragging, sister? What's humble bragging? Lin Yaoyao, oh, never mind, just keep eating, sister. I innocently nodded and continued eating my meal. The Lin Group's new restaurant opened its doors. The signature dish, squad leader Chu's braised pork. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, the crowd was enormous. Uncle Chu personally entered the kitchen, preparing 200 portions of braised pork to distribute to customers. The line stretched for 3 city blocks. An elderly man received a lunchbox, took a bite, and suddenly burst into tears. The person next to him was alarmed. Sir, what's wrong? The old man trembled and said, This is the flavor. 20 years ago, in the army. Someone quickly went to call Uncle Chu. Uncle Chu emerged and froze when he saw the old man. Old Li. The old man looked up at Uncle Chu, tears streaming down his face. Squad leader Chu, it's me, George Li. Uncle Chu hurried over and clasped his hand tightly. Old Li, what are you doing here? The old man, still weeping, explained, My son is a background actor in Willow Creek District. I came to visit him. I was just passing by here, and someone smelled the aroma. Then the 2 elderly men embraced tightly, crying like children. Everyone around was stunned. Someone quietly asked, Who is that? Someone else replied, It seems to be Uncle Chu's old comrade in arms from 20 years ago. Oh my God, how touching. I was live streaming nearby. Seeing this scene, I told the camera, See everyone? This is the power of braised pork. Comments flooded the screen. Boo-hoo. So touching. This is real cuisine. Uncle Chu is amazing. That old man crying made me cry too. I didn't forget to tell the camera. I helped Uncle Chu find his old comrade in arms and reunited them. Everyone, tell me, is being a glutton like me worth it? Comments read, Worth it. Oh, some people live to earn money. I live to eat. But just eating and eating somehow solves everything. That evening, I happily sat in my own corner. Before me were 3 boxes of braised pork that Uncle Chu had specially prepared for me. 3 different recipes for me to choose the best one. Amelia Davis leaned in. Sister, you're really indulging tonight. Yeah, Uncle Chu told me to pick the best recipe. Lin Yaoyao, can I have a bite? I clutched my lunchbox tightly. Go get your own chopsticks. Amelia Davis rolled her eyes, then went to fetch her own chopsticks. Richard Davis walked past, shaking his head with a smile. My daughter's greatest accomplishment in life is probably knowing how to eat. I continued eating with my head down. Thanks for the compliment, Dad. Uncle Chu poked his head out from the kitchen. Little one, have you chosen yet? I pointed to the middle box. This one's the best. Fatty but not greasy, melts in your mouth, and leaves a slightly sweet aftertaste. Uncle Chu smiled. My choice too. I grinned triumphantly. My phone rang. It was my agent, Amy. There's a food show in Italy that wants to invite you as a guest to eat street food all over Italy. Want to go? I stopped my chopsticks, unable to suppress the smile curling at the corners of my mouth. I practically yelled into the phone. Going right now. Buy the plane ticket immediately. Amelia Davis, chewing braised pork beside me, mumbled with her mouth full. Didn't you say you'd only sit in corners your whole life? I was already up, packing my things. The corner can wait. Italian food won't. Richard Davis laughed and shook his head. Uncle Chu said, Little one, remember to bring back some Italian soy sauce. I hear it's delicious. I gave an okay sign. No problem. I dragged my suitcase at the airport, preparing to go through security. My phone chimed with a WeChat message from Lin Yaoyao. Sister, Mom said you secretly ran off to eat again, and she's going to cut your allowance. I replied righteously. I earned my own money. She can't cut that. Lin Yaoyao, true, so remember to buy me some fruit. I smiled mischievously. Depends on your behavior. Lin Yaoyao sent a string of stickers. I chuckled and put away my phone. Before passing through security, I turned around one last time, pulled out my phone, and snapped a selfie to post on my social media. Departure. Time to eat. Love myself. See you tomorrow. The accompanying photo showed me at the airport with a radiant smile. The comments section immediately exploded. Have a safe trip, sister. Remember to film lots of delicious food. Keep live streaming when you get back. The corner eating king is on an expedition. Remember to eat all of Italy for me. I read each line, my eyes curving into crescent moons from laughing. I put my phone away and strode into security. Whatever page the wind turns to, read that page. If you don't know a page, tear it out. But today, the page I chose was to fly to Italy to eat. On the plane, I flipped through a magazine and saw a page introducing cuisine. Wow. The gentleman sitting next to me looked at me and asked, "Are you traveling, young lady?" I shook my head. "Going to eat." The gentleman looked puzzled. "To eat?" "An Italian food show invited me to come and eat, so I'm going." The gentleman burst out laughing when he heard this. "So what do you do for a living?" My brain started working again, and I answered seriously, "Professional eater." The gentleman laughed non-stop again. A line slowly appeared on the screen. Later. I ate all over the world, but my favorite dish was still the rice I ate while squatting in the corner. 3 months later, I was sitting in a Michelin restaurant in New York City, with over 10 dishes laid out in front of me. Every time I tasted a dish, I turned to the camera and commented. The number of people in the livestream room was 500,000. Comments flooded the screen. "Sister, you're so happy. Watching you eat helps me lose weight. When are you coming back to the country?" My gaze abruptly stopped on the plate before me, a wave of surprise washing over me. There was something about this dish that strongly resembled Uncle Chu's braised pork. After a taste, I stated with conviction, "It's not just a similarity, it's the very same culinary philosophy." This chef, I realized, clearly drew inspiration from New Orleans cuisine. Suddenly, an Italian chef stepped into view from off-screen, speaking in noticeably accented Chinese. In my youth, I trained as a chef in New Orleans. My mentor's surname was Chu. I paused, my chopsticks forgotten. The livestream room erupted with comments. "Oh my goodness, Uncle Chu's apprentice? What an amazing coincidence." Leaping to my feet, I asked, brimming with excitement, "Is your master's name Arthur Chen?" The Italian chef nodded his head. Yes, yes." Completely unable to contain my delight, I turned to the camera, exclaiming loudly, "Uncle Chu, your student is right here in Italy." The livestream community went absolutely wild. The final words then appeared on the screen. Feast Queen Chloe Davis continues her meal. Thank you for tuning in to today's story. I truly value all your comments, suggestions, and feedback. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. I look forward to seeing you in our upcoming narratives.